All right. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Creatress of Freedom. I'm Annie and I'm your host of the Creatress of Freedom. Welcome back. I'm so happy you are here with me today and tuning on in. So let's delve straight into today's topic because I feel like this is a juicy one. I mean, I feel like I say that every episode, but that's because every episode is juicy, right? You wouldn't be here listening if it was not a juicy episode. So thanks for coming back time and time. If there's a certain topic or discussion that you want to open up, please let me know. I would love to hear what it is that you would love to learn about, uh, learn strategy, emotional, hear more of my personal stuff that I'm like navigating and working through. I just realized that if you are watching the YouTube instead of listening to the audio, I almost look like I have no top on because it's off the shoulders. But anyway, so I want to talk about productivity and how to make the most out of your day from a productive side of view. So once I learnt this for myself and then I started teaching my clients about it, we started to notice a huge increase in productivity, right? And this was recently sparked by one of my private clients who I'm working with and have been working with this goddess since like 2021. She's been in my space. I don't know. There's something about long-term private clients. They are just they're just so beautiful. The relationship that you build with these women, you go on so much of their journey on a deeper personal level, and they go on your journey as well, which is really, really beautiful. I'm truly grateful. I'm very picky in who I take because you get a lot of my time and energy, but that space is such a sacred space, and the transformations that these women have when they come into my private spaces is really hard to put into words because it actually happens on a cellular level. And they can hear the same thing 10 times, 20 times, years in a row, and then finally, just 1 minute, 3 years down the track, that thing that you've been telling them finally lands, and they're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And it's like, yeah, this is why I truly believe in long-term mentorship, for sure. So, I want to talk a little bit about some things that I have used within my business and some things that I also teach inside my spaces as well that I think is going to be really helpful for each of you. If you feel like you get to the end of the day and you're like, fuck, I procrastinated, I didn't really get much done today, I don't know why. And I've already got a list of 20,000 things. And now I've got to add those 20,000 things onto my list for tomorrow that already has 20,000 things on it. So now I've got 40,000 things to do on my list. So I want to talk a little bit about this because I think, first of all, we have to understand the way the brain works, right? Because if we understand the way the brain works, that also helps us create tasks at different parts of the day and creates our structure in our day to be way more easier, right? So I want to talk to you a little bit about what the left side of the brain does and what the right side of the brain does. So the brain has two elements, right? And we, depending on what it is that we're doing, we'll use a different part of the brain. So the left side of the brain is going to focus on things that are logical, sequencing, thinking, linear thinking, like mathematics, facts, like words, conversations, that kind of thing, right? The right side of the brain, that's the like your imagination, your holistical thinking. This is where your intuition is. This is where your creativity will start to flow. This is where you'll just kind of be in rhythm. There'll be like non-verbal cues. It's more of a feeling part, and like it's like kind of where like the daydreaming kind of like comes into us. It's kind of like you can see from the left and the right brain, if we were to look at it, one is very feminine and one is very masculine, right? Which is a lot of what I teach in my world, is the feminine and the masculine. So one is very much the doing and the other one is very much the being, right? And so if our brain operates that way, then we should probably set out our day to maximize the brain power, right? And I noticed this when I started, when did I really start to notice it? And I really needed to like change the way that I was doing things. I reckon it was back in like 2018 when I started mentoring, when I started coaching, because I had the salon. So I was, working with clients. I was still working a couple of days a week on the floor. So I was working with clients, but I also had a team. So I had to manage my team. But I also had the business operations of things as well, like ordering and stock and meeting with reps and um, trainings and all of that stuff, leadership. And then I had the coaching business as well. So then I was working with clients, and there was like marketing. Then there was content creation as well, from like course creation, but also from marketing creation. And I felt like, just with work, I felt very torn between where to put my energy and where to focus. Then you throw two kids into the mix as well. So back 2018, I was in a long-term relationship, and I was a stepmom for 7 years. And so I can't even remember how old the kids would have been at that stage, but I think Troy and I got together in like 2014. So like Cade was 7 and Layla was 3. So yeah, so Cade would have been like 11-ish, I reckon. So they're still very young. And Layla would have been like maybe like 7 or 8-ish, maybe. Anyway, so they were quite young and still very dependent, like Layla still needed me to like help her get dressed, she still needed me to get her ready in the mornings, and same with Cade. So life was like pretty hectic, especially most mornings. Troy was gone off to work by like, he would leave by 7, I think he would leave. Or maybe he started work at 7. I don't know. It seems like so long ago. Anyway, so like I was doing mum duties before I would even start my working day. And I remember having a conversation with my mentor after doing mentoring for a little bit myself, and having the salon and being a mum and being a good girlfriend, and making sure that the cleaning was done and making sure that the dishes were done. And, I had also tied so much of my worth based on how good I could keep a house. And I had very unrealistic expectations for myself that only I put on myself. Troy didn't put them on me. He definitely like helped out. I mean, he also didn't care about those things, He didn't care that there was dishes in the sink. He didn't care that the washing was going to stay another day, whereas I had tied my self-worth up to having a clean house. And so I like would have this crazy ass day in work mode, and then I would have to like continue on it throughout the day at nighttime, in order to feel like I had been productive. So much toxicity in all of that, and a lot of that was my deep wounding that I had to obviously do a lot of work on, and have done since then. And now I have a very different mindset around household stuff, and even just my worth in a relationship. My worth in a relationship is not tied up to how well I can keep a house, or how up to date the washing is, or whether there is meals prepped in the fridge, or whether there is the dishwasher is unpacked, right? So much of my worth was tied up in all of that. And so I really was struggling at this time to manage all of the hats, wear all of the hats that I was wearing. And I remember saying to my mentor, I'm really struggling with my time management at the moment. And the thing is that it wasn't actually about my time management. It was more about the tasks that I was doing that were draining my energy, that were impacting how my time management should have been. And so I was finding myself on, let's say, a Tuesday was my day out of the salon, but it was my admin day for the salon. So I had to, do the wages. I had to look at the predicted for the next week. I had to see how much money we would need to make in order to break even, because I knew all of that data. And then I would do content creation for the salon. And then I would sort out our meetings or write down anything that needed to be addressed in one-on-one meetings. And then I would switch gears and I would start doing sales calls with my mentoring business. And so then I was mentoring and would have a coaching call halfway in between that day. And then I would have to give feedback to those clients. And then I'd have to do my marketing. And by the end of the day, I was so exhausted. And I was like, I felt kind of productive because I was doing all the things, but I also was like, this is not sustainable. And once I learned that each of those tasks were requiring different parts of my left or my right side of my brain, I was constantly switching between them, right? Like if we think about needing to create content, like that's probably more of my right side of my brain where there needs to be space. Yeah. There needs to be like spaciousness and like just to creatively think and then like create something and allow my intuition to flow and allow my imagination to flow and, like think about that versus say doing a mentoring call where I'm strategically analyzing and helping and creating structure and creating strategy specifically for this person, or I'm doing my finances and I'm working out my money buckets, and then all of a sudden now I've got to go back over and create the content for the salon now. And so I was switching my brain from left to right so much throughout each day. This wasn't just on Tuesday, I'm just using this as an example. And this is why I was so exhausted. And it was also another reason that contributed to burnout, right? Because I was not using my skill set productively as I could. And so this is why when women come into my space and we start planning out their week in what it looks like from a business perspective of like, okay, well, what are the admin things that you need to do on the business? We start to work that out. And then we start to work out, okay, so now you've got team meetings and individual meetings that you need to be having with your crew. So what does that look like? And I would often have, clients come to me and they'd say, oh, I've got such and such as on Monday, I've got such and such as on Tuesday, and then I've got such and such as on Thursday. So yeah, that just works really good because it spreads up my week. And I'm like, no, don't do that. No, no, no. Bad idea, bad idea. Abort, abort, abort. And they're like, oh no, I thought that was good. Like it just, that way I'm not like marking my entire day out for doing meetings. And I'm like, no, that's how you need to do it. And they're like, really? But like then that's like not a productive day financially because I've just done all my meetings. I'm like, trust me, that's the way that you want to do it. So I start encouraging my clients to look at it and go, okay, well, what part of my brain is going to need to be used for this? And if you're doing team meetings, then you want to batch your meetings, right? So maybe the first week of the month, you have all of your individual meetings. So, for example, the way that mine was worked was the first Monday of every month was my individual meetings, and they were back to back because this kept me in the flow, right? I wasn't doing a team meeting or an individual meeting and then jumping straight into a coaching call. Like that requires a different part of my brain and a different part of skill set that I need. And that gets me out of the flow, right? We want to stay in the path of least resistance. So the path of least resistance is making sure that you flow in that same way. So, for example, first Monday of every month was my individual meetings. The second week of the month was the second Monday of every month was my team meeting, right? And I had this entire year mapped out in the calendar. So my staff know when their meetings are, when my meetings are. And then from a creative point of view, I would know, okay, so Tuesday, I am going to do all of my content creation. So I'm going to have a slow morning. I'm going to get behind the computer and then I'm going to be creative, right? I'm going to let my art flow. I'm going to let my imagination come through. I'm going to let my intuition flow. And I'm going to stay in that space for an hour, 2 hours. And then after I've done all of the content for the business and the coaching, the salon and the coaching, then I can shift for another block and batch my time for 2 hours to do my numbers, things that are financial. So, because it's going to use a different part of my brain. So that allows me to stay focused on that 2 hour window on anything that is financial based. So it could be doing my numbers, it could be sorting out my money buckets, it could be paying wages, it could be paying bills, it could be re-evaluating my pricing software, it could be going over stock ordering, anything that is associated with that. So if you can learn to batch your tasks together, that's going to help increase your productivity so much more. And the evidence of that, so I had this particular client. I have been working with her for 3 years and have often made these suggestions. But at the end of the day, you guys are in your own business and I can suggest and lead the horse to water. I can't make the horse drink the water. But finally, in this year, she was like, I'm going to do all of my meetings. It was the end of last year and this year. I'm going to do all of my meetings on one day and I'm going to see how that goes, Annie. I'm like, great, that sounds amazing. So she did that. And the very first time that she did that, she like jumps into our private communication channel and she's like, oh my gosh, like I was on fire. I flowed through that. And she's like, and actually there were similar patterns that everybody had, like everyone had similar stuff. And I was like, yes, this is because you have marked it out and you are batching your time for all of this, that you're staying focused on the same skill set, the same task that you need to focus on. And that's why she was able to pick up these patterns a lot easier, because it literally was one after the other, right? So it was, I think there's like half an hour break in between. And so really being able to batch your time based on your tasks that are very similar and using the right or the left side of the brain is going to help you so much this year. If that's something that you really want to focus on and you really want to refine your productivity, and you kind of get to, your day that you need to do your admin and you're like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing today. Like, I know I need to be spending some time on the business, so I don't know. And because you don't have clarity and you don't have the knowledge around what it is that you're supposed to do, that's why you procrastinate. So that's why you make your 20th cuppa for the day. And that's why you're like, actually, I'll just have another snack. Oh, actually, the washing's finished. I'll just quickly hang out the washing. Oh, what's that? My girlfriend messaged. Sure, let's catch up for a coffee. And you don't do anything that you're supposed to do. So remember, knowledge is power. So the more knowledge that you have and the more support systems and the structures that you have in place to help you stay focused, you're going to be so much more productive. So I hope that this has helped you really understand that, our brains are operating and they actually are working for us. We just have to learn and understand different parts of the brain and different ways that we need to set up our structure within our business. I am more so on the feminine side of the scale these days, where I allow a lot of creativity and a lot of open white space on my calendar, because I know that so much of my downloads come through in that space, and that when I need to be productive, I can get in and get shit done. Like, for example, podcast recording, I batch my podcast records. So I have a list. So when different topics come up within my community, I have a list of different topics that I can pull on, so that when I know where I'm in my cycle, which is also another episode, if you haven't listened to Syncing Your Business and Life to Your Cycle, when I know where I'm at in my cycle, I can go, okay, I'm going to smash out like 6-7 episodes in one sitting. And then I don't have to do any podcast recording for the rest of the month, right? Because I am batching my time and I stay in that flow, and it just keeps flowing and flowing and flowing. So I really hope that this has encouraged you to get some structure around your batching of your times and why it's important. Because even from a scientific point of view, this is actually, there's evidence to prove that different parts of our brain do different things. And if you can schedule your days where you are batching it, I guarantee you're going to be so much more productive than you have been in the last year if you were not focused on knowing this information. If you want to deepen this type of work and would like to come into my spaces, you will see in the show notes there is an application for private mentorship. I have a few different options. If you wanted to just do a quick, like, I just need to get in your head, Annie, and I just need some support, I have a VIP day, which is a 4-hour intensive session. So I have that option. I also have an option of 6 or 12 months as well for private mentorship. So you'll see the application. Go ahead and you can fill that out and we can touch base about what's going to work for you. If you are in business and you are needing a little bit more support or structure with the structure that you've got set up from a time management, from admin perspective of like, you really want to scale and you really want to go to that next level, but you feel like you don't have the foundations that you need in order to grow, then reach out to me. Or you can have a look at the show notes below and you will see there is Evolve, which is my mastermind. And so you can fill that out, the application for that, and we can see if that's going to be the right suitable fit for you. If they're not really what you're thinking and you want to see if there's anything else, then please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Often, there is different things that maybe I don't have advertised as such, but I'm here to support you and work through what it is that you need the most. I'm here to be of service. So if there's something that you need that you can't see is available, please don't let that stop you from reaching out and contacting me, because I would be honored to support you on your journey to building a business that is in pure alignment to your life and your core values, and like not hustling and slogging yourself and going against your cycles and just to build a business. Like, there's no point. I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that. So if that feels like you want to do some deeper work around this, let me know. If you're not in business, but you would like to do some deeper inner work with me, then you'll see in the show notes there is a application for Flow, which is a 12-week self journey. It's a beautiful self-love journey. It is embracing healing and transformation. We go in deep and wide, and it is not a program. It is a deep mentorship container where we work through your stuff in an intimate space. So if you're interested in that, you'll see the details below. But if there's anything else that I can support you with, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to support you however you need. All right, have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.